The corner of Fifth and Maple was a blur of midday chaos, exhaust fumes, and noise. Beneath a tattered blue awning, Mikhail Mick Petros calmly polished the counter of his small pretzel and coffee stand. His hands were calloused, his face weathered by years outdoors, but his eyes were sharp, missing nothing. Suddenly, a high-pitched, aggressive voice cut through the street noise. "There! That's him!" Wallace Vance, a man in a flawlessly tailored suit of a disconcertingly pale grey, burst out of the stream of pedestrians. His movements were jerky, his face flushed, an angry, mottled red that clashed violently with the expensive silk of his tie. He stopped abruptly, his chest heaving, and jabbed a trembling, manicured finger directly at Mick. Behind him trailed his nervous, anxious assistant, who was struggling to keep pace while murmuring useless apologies to the people Wallace had shoved aside. "You!" Wallace spat, his voice shaking with a mixture of authentic panic and manufactured indignation. "You took my wallet. I stopped here 10 minutes ago for an espresso. You served me yourself. And now it's gone. It's a distinctive wallet. Italian leather, black, with a unique, etched silver clip. Empty out your till, old man. Right now." Mick looked up, his actions deliberate and slow, emphasizing the chasm between his calm and Wallace's agitation. He neatly folded the polishing towel and placed it beside the steam wand of his espresso machine. "Good afternoon, sir. Are you formally accusing me of theft at my place of business?" "I'm not accusing. I'm stating a fact," Wallace insisted, his eyes darting frantically toward the small, locked cash drawer beneath Mick's counter. "That wallet isn't just a few hundreds, though that's bad enough. It contains something far more critical, something irreplaceable, a lottery ticket, a very rare, very valuable, winning lottery ticket." The ordinary flow of the pavement began to slow down. Office workers, delivery people, and sightseers all stopped, drawn by the irresistible gravity of a public confrontation. Wallace, sensing the instant audience he had garnered, puffed out his chest, attempting to regain the high ground of a wronged victim. "The ticket is specific," Wallace continued, his voice dropping slightly to a menacing, confidential whisper, intended to carry just far enough. "It's a 1998 Lucky Star scratch-off. It's laminated, clearly showing the original $5 million payout beneath the protective layer. Only a handful of these were ever left unclaimed in the state. It was my insurance policy, my future, and now it's yours. Hand it over, or I call the police and tell them exactly what a low-life common street vendor you are." Mick leaned back against his stand, his composure solid, unnerving Wallace further. "A 1998 ticket, you say? That's quite the antique, Mr. Vance. And worth $5 million, even after all these years? It must be some story to go with that." "It's priceless," Wallace snapped, losing the struggle to control his patience. "It belonged to me. Now, enough games. Where did you hide it? I saw you look at it." Mick sighed, a deep, tired sound that seemed to carry the weight of 20 years. He reached slowly, purposefully, beneath the counter. Wallace braced himself, his muscles tensing, anticipating a sudden, desperate struggle for the wallet, a scramble to hide the evidence, or a denial. Instead, Mick produced a black Italian leather wallet with a distinctive silver-etched clip. It was exactly as Wallace had described. Mick placed it gently, almost reverently, on the clean steel counter. "Is this the wallet, Mr. Vance?" Wallace abandoned all pretense of dignity, his relief an electric shock that made him lunge forward, grabbing the cold leather before Mick could withdraw his hand. "Yes. See? I knew it. You thieving—" He yanked the wallet open frantically. Inside, secured in a clear plastic sleeve, was a small laminated piece of paper. He snatched it up, verifying the faded Lucky Star logo and the visible $5 million payout clearly showing through the lamination. "Give me back my property, you dog." Mick did not move. He shook his head slowly, a faint, almost pitying smile touching his lips. "It's not yours, Wallace. It was never yours. And that wallet? I purchased an identical one a week ago. I put it right there on your table when you weren't looking, while you were distracted by your assistant. It was a lure. Wallace froze. The winning ticket clutched tightly in his hand, his triumph instantly curdling into incomprehension. What are you talking about? Are you insane? Mick reached up above the pretzel display and slowly peeled off a protective blank coating he used to hide his full name on the small handwritten price board. The original writing beneath was faded but clear. Petros Family Stand. Do you remember the night, back in 1999, that you visited your younger brother, Dimitri Petros? Mick asked, his voice low, steady, and hard as granite. He was struggling, just starting his first small import business, scraping by, sleeping on a couch to save money. He showed you that ticket, the exact ticket, the one his life savings went into. He was so excited. He was finally going to get out of the debt you had saddled him with months earlier and start over clean. Wallace's face, moments ago flushed with rage, was now a shocking grey, the colour of dawning, paralysing fear. He stared at Mick, then back down at the ticket in his hand. You can't be, Wallace stammered, the name Dimitri catching in his throat like a shard of glass. I am, Mick confirmed. I am Dimitri Petros. I'm your younger brother, Wallace. The brother whose company you bankrupted with your failed schemes, the family name you soiled, and the one whose life you condemned to 2 decades of grinding, anonymous work. Because in a moment of greedy, contemptible spite, you stole his wallet off his coffee table while he was in the kitchen pouring you a drink. And then you moved across the country and changed your name to Vance to hide your new wealth. The crowd around the stand muttered, a collective gasp of realization sweeping through them as they witnessed the devastating reversal of fortune. Mick leaned forward, resting his hands firmly on the counter, closing the distance between them. You never found the courage to claim that ticket, did you? Because you knew Dimitri knew the numbers, and the moment you showed up in the news, the authorities would investigate the fraud and the disappearance of your namesake. So you kept it, a miserable little secret you couldn't use, a private curse, while I spent 20 years working 16-hour days, waiting for the statute of limitations to expire and wondering if I'd ever see justice, or a single day of peace. He pointed to the wallet on the counter. I heard through old channels that Wallace Vance was back in the city last week. I recognized your gait, your posture, and the expensive, sickly sweet scent of your desperation a block away. I've been waiting for a weakness. So I found an old, identical wallet, put the real, original winning ticket inside, and engineered this entire encounter today to see if your greed still outmatched your caution. Mick fixed his brother with an unforgiving, cold stare. It does. You walked right into the trap. You just loudly, publicly confirmed that this ticket belongs to the man who actually has to work for a living to survive. He snatched the precious laminated paper from Wallace's frozen, useless fingers. That ticket, Mick said, holding the paper up to the sun, a simple piece of paper that represented a monumental life sentence, was the seed money for my original company. Now, it's just delayed compensation for a life stolen, and thanks to your loud, public, and self-incriminating accusation, I have a dozen witnesses to confirm that I am now in lawful possession of the sole, tangible piece of evidence against you. You just admitted to everyone that you sought to steal it from me. Wallace stood defeated, utterly unable to process the total collapse of his comfortable, dishonest life. The reality that his own impulsive greed had been the perfect weapon used to destroy him was too much to bear. Mick turned to the small, silent crowd that had formed a dense circle around them. Everyone go on and enjoy your day, he said, the authority returning to his tired eyes. He then spoke directly to his former brother, his voice a final, solemn verdict. You can keep the empty wallet, Wallace. You've always preferred the empty façade over the genuine content.